Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. In today's video, we'll be discussing the dress code known as holiday attire or festive attire, its varying levels of formality, and how you can meet each of these levels effectively and stylishly. Longtime fans of the Gentleman's Gazette will be aware that we relish the task of decomplicating dress codes for men. We've got comprehensive PDF guides on the most formal of men's dress codes, including white tie, morning dress, and black tie, and you can find all of those PDF guides in our shop here. We've also got a video and a related article that act as a primer for pretty much any dress code you could conceivably find on an invitation, and we recently put out a video on one of the most infamous of all dress codes, black tie optional. You can find links to all of these by clicking the banners at the right. Today's video will cover another dress code, seasonal in nature, that also has a bit of unnecessary complexity to it. Holiday attire, also called festive attire. The source of confusion in this dress code is that it can mean anything from cocktail attire with a festive twist to the recent vogue for ugly Christmas sweaters. By the way, if you want to find out more about cocktail attire, you can take a look at our video on the subject here, and stay tuned for an upcoming video that will give you some more suggestions on how to meet that dress code well. Our most general piece of advice for the holiday or festive dress code is to gravitate to the more formal end of the spectrum, which we're going to lay out today. After all, no one is ever going to fault you for looking put together. The exception to this advice, of course, is if the hosts have clearly stated that the party is going to be more extravagant and playful in nature, and that ugly sweaters are expected. In that case, by all means, do loosen up and have some fun. Your safest bet, of course, will always be to ask the hosts for advice directly, as a gentleman always makes the effort to follow a dress code as closely as he can. To do otherwise would be an insult to your hosts. One more piece of general advice here before we dive in. Keep it varied and have a few options handy. After all, it's a busy time of year for parties, and you may be invited to more than one that has a holiday or festive dress code to it, so having a few options at your disposal will never be a bad thing. With all this in mind then, what would we recommend to meet the holiday attire dress code stylishly? The simplest answer is this. Think of it as being an offshoot of cocktail attire with an extra holiday touch, in terms of color or some playfulness that's incorporated into your outfit, such as wearing tartan, which has been an established alternative when it comes to holiday wear since at least the middle of the 20th century. By the way, if you're curious to learn more about the rich history of tartans and other plaid patterns, you can check out our recent video on the subject here. Regarding color then, do feel free to incorporate some of the standard colors of the holiday season, such as red and green. With that said, however, don't go for bright and gaudy hues, as these are just going to make you stand out a little bit too much. Instead, go for something subtle, understated, and elegant. Now, let's cover today's subject through the lens of multiple different types of holiday parties, each with differing levels of formality, and cover the related dress accordingly. As a great many holiday parties are held in the workplace, we'll start with some suggestions for office-appropriate festive attire. Regarding how dressed up you should be for such an event, just take a cue from the regular day-to-day attire at your office. In other words, think of how you should dress as being a somewhat typical office outfit, maybe just a bit more relaxed and with a seasonal element to it. On that note, you can take a look at our videos for business attire, business casual attire, and dressing for the office here. Firstly, if you work in a traditional white-collar office environment, go for something that's appropriately conservative. For example, a suit, perhaps 3 pieces or double-breasted, in a dark color like charcoal or navy, or in midnight blue if you're feeling especially elegant. Along with this, you could go for a dress shirt, ideally French cuffed, and probably in a pastel color, as white might be just a bit too stuffy for a festive party. In terms of shoes, you'll want to keep things appropriately conservative as well, so you could go for the classic black cap-toe Oxford, or if you're feeling just a little bit more playful, something in a very dark brown color, perhaps an oxblood. You could go for something like a monk strap or something incorporating just a little bit of broguing in its design, but you don't want to get too crazy, and you probably won't want to opt for light colors like tan either. After all, if your regular office attire consists of those black Oxfords, you'll want to keep it in the neighborhood of that kind of shoe, even for a party like this. As for your accessories, the novelty tie emblazoned with huge Santa heads is probably going to be a little bit too informal for a party of this nature. Instead, you'll want to go for something like a dark burgundy or a similarly muted hue, perhaps with a slight pattern to it, although solids are of course a safe bet. Your pocket square can be a little bit bolder in comparison to your tie, and can possibly incorporate some small patterns as well. Just remember that all of the elements of your outfit should ultimately remain harmonious. You're likely going to have the most latitude here with your cufflinks. They can be solid metal in any shade, of course, and can incorporate stones or other engraved designs. This type of party is just playful enough, however, that you could also do something with miniatures, say for example, a tiny reindeer, just so long as it's understated and subtle. Have fun with it and try to strike that ideal balance between formal and festive. Tie bars, collar clips, and rings can also be worn so long as they're similarly understated. And of course, matching your medals is always a good idea. Finally here, regarding boutonnieres, something light-colored and small so as also to be understated would be an ideal choice. And of course, for a wide selection of boutonnieres, pocket squares, and jewelry, you can check out the Fort Belvedere shop here. Next, for a slightly less formal type of office party, we'd recommend that you go with a combination of sport coat and odd trousers. A patterned or textured sport coat would be a good choice here, with or without a tie. Something, for example, in herringbone, houndstooth, or a mottled tweed will provide a rustic quality that's still appropriate for the season. On that note, we've produced videos on the history and characteristics of both houndstooth and tweed, and you can take a look at both of those by clicking the banners here and here. As we mentioned toward the beginning of the video as well, wearing a blazer with a tartan or other plaid pattern would be an ideal way to be seasonally appropriate, a little bit bold, and a little bit rustic all at the same time. Finally here, this would also be a great opportunity to break out something like a burgundy velvet jacket if you're feeling especially avant-garde. Your shirt could be plain in color, either in a pastel shade or alternatively in a rich dark hue if you're going for something a little bit more fashion-forward. Also, the shirt could feature a pattern, just so long as that pattern doesn't clash if you've also got one in your jacket. In terms of styling and materials, choices like the Oxford cloth button-down or OCBD would be appropriately semi-formal. On that note, you can take a look at our video on Oxford cloth button-down shirts here. A chambray shirt would be another good choice, or alternatively, you could substitute the collared shirt altogether for something like a dark turtleneck sweater under your jacket. You can round out this look with some flannel trousers or corduroys, and as far as shoes are concerned, you could opt for something like wingtips or loafers, just so long as they're well shined. We've also done a video on corduroy, which you can take a look at here, and several videos on shoes, which you can take a look at here. Finally in this overview, if we're to cover casual office parties, our advice is largely the same as for semi-formal office parties, but with a few key distinctions. First of all, you can feel free to swap out the sport coat with a cable knit pullover or a cardigan sweater in a warm color. Alternatively, a Fair Isle sweater or sweater vest will allow you to stand out a little bit more while still looking rustic and traditional. And of course, for a complete guide to sweaters, you can check out our video on that topic here. In addition to flannel trousers and corduroys, a casual office party would also be an appropriate time to break out dark denim or perhaps even colored chinos if you're feeling especially bold. Finally, you can add an accent with some brightly colored dress socks, or maybe incorporate your crazy socks featuring Santa and his reindeer here, and you can round out the look with some informal shoes or perhaps a dress boot. On that note, we've also done several videos on boots, and you can take a look at those here. Now, let's briefly cover some advice on what to wear to a holiday or festive party given in a residential or otherwise similarly private setting. In the broad strokes, you're going to want to keep things a little bit more relaxed for a home party than you would for an office party, but the breakdown we've just given for 3 different formality levels of office parties can still hold mostly true here as well. In other words, all of the suggestions we gave for specific combinations of garments still hold true for home parties as they did for office parties. But when we gave you more than one option in some of our breakdowns, you would here opt for some of the less formal of those options. For example, at a semi-formal or mid-level holiday house party, you could perhaps go for the turtleneck sweater before going for the button-down. Remember, the bottom line for house parties is always the dress code that's printed on the invitation and/or the personal advice of the hosts. If the party takes place during the holiday season, but the invitation says black tie, wear a tuxedo and leave that tweed sport coat at home. In conclusion, then, while the holiday or festive dress code covers a wide range of levels of formality, it doesn't have to be a source of anxiety. For a party at work, take a cue from your regular office attire and add a twist or two, and for a residential party, take your cue from the invitation and the advice of the hosts, and feel free to be just a little bit more relaxed and playful. And yes, if ugly sweaters are expected, do loosen up and feel free to have a little bit of fun. So, what sorts of combinations have you worn to holiday parties in the past? Share with us in the comments section below. And, as always, a reminder to subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell icon so that way videos like these can come straight to your inbox. In today's video, I'm wearing an outfit that would be most suitable for a very casual office or residential party. It consists of a muted brown cardigan sweater for a seasonal touch, over a shirt in a light cream yellow that features a broken check pattern of green, purple, pink, and burnt orange. The olive green knit tie from Fort Belvedere provides more texture and more seasonal color. You can find that tie as well as several others in the Fort Belvedere shop here. My corduroys, which are in a warm, almost mustardy brown color, are similarly casual. And my socks echo my shirt in that they're also sort of a cream yellow color, but they feature an argyle pattern in white and light blue. I'm rounding out the outfit today with some medium brown wingtip derby shoes that feature heavy broguing. As you might be able to tell, I'm not really wearing very many other accessories today. My shirt even has barrel cuffs, so I'm not wearing any cufflinks. I just figured this would be a good example of a very casual outfit that still fit the holiday mold, and I'm sure you've seen several other examples of more formal outfits throughout the video.